A lot of people don't know how to turn the notifications off. And it's not hard to do. And it really does make a difference. Because if you're not getting pinged constantly, you're focused on whatever it is you're doing. And just having that focus is going to bring you back more time.
Welcome to the Lara Jane Layton Show. This podcast is for you, the person who keeps putting others first. Your self-talk has held you back. You no longer need to take a second seat. Let's explore ways to overcome self-doubt. You can silence that inner bully voice and achieve your full potential. Here's your host, Lara Jane.
Welcome to the show, friend. I have a new best friend, Marnie, with me today. And we've been chatting and thinking about what is it that can help us today to kind of gather ourselves and work through this. And we started thinking about how we balance our lives and how we have so many hats. I have my work hat and my play hat and my church hat and my go to my in-laws' house hat and my go to my mom's hat and all these different ways we behave and the things that we have on our plates to balance. And how do we get it all in balance where we can just be at that calm? I got this. You know, you watch these acrobats and they can be off balance and really wobbly. And that's a lot of effort when you're in that wobble stage. But you see them once they've gotten their balance in line, and they can almost stay in that position forever because they're balanced. And how do we get that with our work lives and our family lives and our home lives and our friends' life and all those things we get to do every day? So how do we get that balance? So Marnie's going to kind of help walk through coming to that balance in our lives and give us a challenge of what we could do this week to kind of feel more in balance. So Marnie, help my friend and I balance our life so it's not so much effort keeping all these plates in the air.
Well, thank you for having me, Laura. I'm happy to be here. And yeah, life is a rat race, right? For a lot of people, and it's crazy busy. And like you said, we have a lot of balls in the air. So how can we create a life that we feel good about and that we want to live? And, balance is a buzzword, and we all want that calmness and that balance in our life. And I think one of the first things that, I know I do, and I tell my clients is you need to come up with a vision of what balance is. Because, Laura, what balance may be to you is not what balance necessarily means to me. So what is balance for you? What kind of life do you want to live? And you can break that down even further by thinking about identifying what buckets or what things matter most to you. And maybe it's, work balance or family balance or relationships or, your health priorities or whatever it is, and kind of lay out, write down the most important buckets to you to start with, and then start to envision what you would like your life to look like. Yeah.
Because if I don't know what it looks like, how can I create it? It's like this blank slate. And yeah, there's design build options, like I know I want this, let's get it. I mean, we may not know what we want at the full end, but there's something that we can start implementing.
And not only is there something you can start with, but this can change. You could revisit this quarterly. You could revisit this, every 6 months, kind of your design. This is your life, right? So you are designing the life that you want to live. And you may hear this and think, that sounds so overwhelming to me. Like, I have so much going on. I don't even have a second to think about this. But I don't think that's true. I think that everybody can take 5 minutes out of their day, take a journal or a notebook or a piece of printer paper, and just write down, what is important to me? What are the most important things to me right now? And that can be the start of this. And I think that if you, like you said, if you don't have a clear picture of what you want in your life, even in your day, what does your perfect quote unquote day look like? And when I say perfect, I don't mean, on vacation, sitting on a beach somewhere, drinking a pina colada or whatever. I'm talking about in your life on a day-to-day basis, what would you like your days to look like? And how can we start to cultivate your life so that you're edging toward that vision you have for yourself?
And you're sitting there talking about what are the things you would like in your life. And I was thinking about this morning sitting and drinking coffee with my husband and just that chill moment, that calmness. And man, could I have that every day? And how could you make that happen? What are those things? Write them down when you see it in the day. Oh, man, I was just speaking with a friend for 5 minutes and I feel so good. It's like, how do I get that and put that in my life? What are the things that make us feel so good? And that wasn't the question to you directly, but once we identify those values or those things we want, what do we start? How do we start getting that balance in our lives?
Well, I think, like you mentioned a minute ago, first of all, writing is a really useful tool. I think having a plan and a journal where you can write some of those things down that you just mentioned, like having a cup of coffee with your significant other, or hugging your dog, petting your dog, taking a walk, meeting a friend in the neighborhood. Some of these things that you feel good when you're doing them. How can you make note of those? Maybe you keep a list and then start to slowly work those things into your life. And I would also say, as you're creating your buckets and you're thinking about, okay, I have my bucket of, let's say it's health and wellness, and I would like to cook one meal a week at home. Right now, I'm doing takeout, grab and go every single day. I don't feel like I have time to grocery shop. I don't have time to meal prep, and I really want to start to do these things. So then, maybe you write that down as your goal. I'm going to cook one home cooked meal a week. And so how do we get there? Where can we find time where you can get to the grocery store, figure out what you're making ahead of time, get the ingredients, and then, maybe it's a Sunday if you're working full time. Maybe you take 1 hour of your Sunday and you prep a bunch of the stuff so that during the week when things are busy, all you have to do is throw it in the oven or take the ingredients that are very, cut and prepped and just kind of throw it all together. So that would be an example of something that doesn't take too much work, but you have to make the time and think about where you can put it in your day, and then you have to actually do it. And if you do it and you're like, that was so hard, that was too much for me, then, maybe we edge it back a little less and we think about, okay, what can I do to take the pressure off of this?
You're talking, and it's that time of year where you get all the advertisements of health and wellness and fitness and stuff and all those meal prep places. And I was hearing, I haven't tried this yet, that Walmart has a thing where you can go in, pick the recipes, and they'll go shopping, get you all the ingredients and bring it to you. So I thought, now how much easier? I mean, if you're tired of these $15 a meal, things that you come in the mail that are all put together, this has got to be a simpler way to do it. Not simpler, but maybe less taxing on an income. But I was just thinking there's so many ways. We don't have to do it ourselves. What is it that I can delegate? I really, really, really want to eat healthy meals. Is there a way I can delegate it? Is there something I feel safe enough about out there? If I just don't have the time, I have the money, maybe not the time, And so how do we juggle those things? And what is that one thing, I really, really want? Put a first step. What is it? Or, we can either look at things that we would like to add or things that we'd like to get rid of. And, that I'm going to add a meal prep, a cooking day, but I'm going to get rid of the frantic, unhealthy eating because I'm just desperate at the moment to feed everybody. So what is it that I'm gaining and what is it going to let go of? Let it just go. Because sometimes that's hard. The hard part is letting the one thing go.
Well, and I will also say that after, working with and meeting with so many different people over the years, one of the places where I have noticed a lot of people can get some time back is with their phones and their screen time and their social media scrolling. And like, not everybody, but a lot of people are spending many hours a day on screens. I'm not talking about your laptop for your job. I'm talking about in your downtime. When you're home, are you scrolling? How long are you scrolling for? Are you getting sucked into TikTok? Are you getting sucked into Netflix? If you really like your Netflix, could you be chopping vegetables while watching instead of sitting on the couch? Are there ways to, combine this together so that it's not just sitting, but you're actually doing something for yourself toward one of the goals you have for yourself? But I would encourage you to take note of how much time you are spending on screens because that is a place where many people can get time back to do other things. And they don't even think about that necessarily.
I know for me, my screen time seems to be sandwiched in between a lot of other bigger, longer duration things. And so it's like 5 minutes here and 5 minutes there. And how do I figure out how to shift all that together so I have an hour to do something?
Mhm.
How do I find that hour to go to the sound bath or the salt caves or the meditation or the yoga or all these things that we can go and help kind of ground and integrate our lives, but I don't have the hour. How do I find that more extended amount of time?
Well, I think you have to put it on your calendar, right? If it's on your calendar, typically a person will do it. So maybe, it's not realistic for you to say, I'm going to go to the salt cave once a week because right now life is really busy. But I can find an hour in the month to go to the salt cave, and that's something I'm going to do for me. So getting out your calendar, putting it on your calendar, maybe making the date with a friend. And then you have some accountability there. Like, okay, I'm not going to let so and so down because we made a plan or whatever it is. So I think to cultivate a balanced life, you really do need to have some intention around what you're doing. And I know that that's really hard for people that feel like they're in a rat race. Um, and when you say, "Well, how can I get back some time?" I'm gonna go back to the cell phone, scrolling, whatever. If you're taking 5 minutes in between things to scroll on your phone, what if you took those 5 minutes, you had a little notebook with you? It can be small well, we're not on YouTube, but, like, it can be this tiny little notebook, and you just write down a couple things that you wanna incorporate into the next week or the next month or whatever it is, refocusing your brain instead of looking at what everybody else is doing online. Take those 5 minutes and focus on what you want, what you need, where you can get that time back.
So important. I love that because it was like, I need a whole hour, but I don't. I have 5 minutes and I can get my piece of paper and I can reflect on what's gone right in the last
Yes.
2 hours and get some gratitude going. Or what is it in the last 2 hours I didn't like that I can find a way to avoid or reground so that it's not something that's draining me. And so if we take that 5 minutes, we can take advantage of it. We don't need to know what all of our friends are doing. We can figure out what made us tick in the last couple hours since our last 5 minute break.
And you may actually find that you feel better than looking at what your friends are doing. Like you probably are going to have some better internal feelings. Another thing I love to suggest to people, I don't know if you're familiar with legs up the wall pose. It is a yoga pose and basically what you're doing is you're laying on your back and you're scooting your behind, right up to the wall and your legs are going up. So you're kind of in an L. And if this is the wall, your legs are up against the wall. You can bend your legs if it's uncomfortable. You can scooch away from the wall a little bit just to just to get more comfortable depending on your flexibility. But this posture, it releases so much tension in our bodies, in our backs, and our hamstrings, and our neck. Like I try and do this almost every day. You can literally sit in this pose for 2 minutes and feel something. But if you can sit in it for 5 minutes and do some breathing, maybe you're not going to get the full effect of the salt cave, but you're still going to get, this release on your nervous system. And this takes 5 minutes.
I have not done that position for a really long time. And it was just in the last few episodes, I remember another person suggesting that if you could do nothing else, get all the way down onto the floor with your head on the floor and get back up. Well, look, this one is doing that with one more thing is put your legs up for a couple minutes.
Hmm. And if that's too hard, your other guest is absolutely right. Just lay on your floor on your back and just breathe. I mean, again, skip the scrolling, lay down on your back for 5 minutes. You can do this in your office. You can do this at home. You can do this at well, you can't do it. You could do it outside if you live somewhere warm in the grass. Like, I live in the snow. So right now I'm not doing this outside, but you could if you were dressed appropriately, I guess. You can do it with your dog. Like, these are things that you just have to be thoughtful about how you're spending your time. If you have kids at home, kids love this pose. They love it. It feels good.
Yes, I can see all of my grandkids wanting to lay there with their feet. I'm not even serious when I said that. It's like just
Yeah.
that, let's all do this. And I bet you
Yep.
they'd all get a giggle out of it. Even the 16-year-old. I mean,
Right.
they would enjoy it too. Marnie, I think that all of these little pieces are so good. So we've talked about, what are the values? What do you want your life to look like? How do we start focusing on those tiny things? And what are some things that can help us find time for us?
Mhm.
And so all these little cool things, this is finding it and a little bit of implementation. Let's dive a little bit harder into the implementation. Now that I've kind of got these 5-minute things and I've got some ideas, let's fill them up. So let's get a word from our sponsor, be right back, and then we're going to fill up these times.
This is Adam Adams, co-founder of Optimized LLC, where we take the guesswork out of your health. If you're feeling exhausted, struggling with weight, or just not feeling yourself anymore, your hormones might be the problem. And that's why we test, not guess, analyzing your blood work to pinpoint exactly what's holding you back. At Optimized LLC, we help you rebalance your hormones, boost energy, and reclaim your life. Don't settle for normal. Aim for optimized. Just go to optimized.com to book your free introductory coaching call. It's a free call to help you take the first step toward feeling your best.
All right, Marnie. I need to really commit to this writing in those 5-minute things. And I really need to commit to getting down on the floor and putting my feet up. And that's just 2 of the 5 minutes. Are there other ideas of how we could fill those minutes of putting this phone down and actually doing something for us? When I pick up my phone, what am I really doing? I'm looking, what is going on in other people's lives? What do I need to do for other people? Very rarely do I pick it up and go, I'm doing this for me.
Mhm. Right.
Like if I'm reading an email, is that for me? Or is that for because somebody needs something from me? So how do I find more of these moments of me time and what can I do?
Well, in terms of finding more moments, I know you mentioned I don't have an hour in my day to do this stuff. Like, one thing that people struggle with that I think is so important is saying no. Like, let's say no more. Why are we saying yes to things that we don't want to do? And of course, there are times where you need to do things, right? Like, if you have a job and your boss wants you to do something and you might not want to do it, but you need your job. So you're going to do it, right? But there are plenty of things that we say yes to that we don't really want to do, whether it's social obligations or hanging out with people that you really aren't feeling good around, that you don't feel good around, or it could be a lot of things. And so, how can you set boundaries and protect yourself and your time. And you mentioned aging parents. Like I'm at that age too, where I have two parents that are getting older. And sometimes I feel like I'm now the parent. So I have three children of my own, a spouse, and two aging parents. And that can be really challenging at times. Like, who do I help first here? Like, my parents raised me. I want to be respectful and take care of them the way they took care of me. But there's give and take. And I know that if I don't take care of myself and do the things that I need to do to stay sane and happy and healthy, I am not doing good by anybody else. So, if my mom is calling me for help and I'm frustrated because she's calling me every 2 seconds to help her with something, I I need to set some boundaries around that and say, I am so happy to help you, but maybe write all the things down that you need help with and we can talk about this once a day instead of 10 times a day or whatever it is. So I think, everybody has their own things that they say yes to over and over again. And so first, I would write a list. Again, we have this little notebook or journal where it's nothing perfect. You're just keeping ideas down, notes, whatever it is, and you're writing down the things that drain on you or the things that you feel like you have to have a commitment to, but you don't really want to. And how can you start to release some of those things?
Releasing sometimes is so difficult, but if I chosen what I'm replacing with, for me, I find it's easier to, I'm no longer going to do this. And when that urge or that thing or that time comes up, I'm going to do this. And that's what I really liked about this writing instead of the screen time and the getting down on the floor, because I've got the urge to look at my phone. What can I
Right.
do? And it's not that your phone is bad. Your phone is fine, but this is finding that time
Hmm.
because, our phones can wait a couple hours.
Yep. They absolutely can. I mean, I tell my kids, they drive me crazy with the amount they looking at their phones. I'm like, can you have one conversation where we're looking at each other in the eyes and you're not picking up your phone to check something? Like, put your phone away in a different room while we have dinner or whatever it is, so that to me, like that protected time is super important. I want us to be present. I don't want people to be distracted by their phones. I want us to have a real conversation. You can't do that if you're constantly being interrupted by your phone.
Yeah. And, the cool thing about phones is we can set timers for non disturbing. And you
Yes.
can let, like, if it's my spouse or if it's my mother, and some mothers you would say yes and some you would say no. But you can let them through. Those things that you think are going to be an emergency that you really do prioritize over your time, you can let it through. And it was recently someone was telling me, I leave my phone in the other room. I just don't even bring it to the bedroom. And they go, how do you get emergencies? And I go, maybe I'm old enough that I'm not got those parents anymore. I know when my husband's mother was on her last years, he had this siren sound on his phone when she would call to make sure he woke up in the middle of the night.
So I do that too with my kids. Like I put my phone in the bathroom with the door closed, but I have a special sound. So if there is an emergency, I hear it.
Yeah, and it makes it so you're not distracted by all of the interruptions.
Right.
Like, how many stupid notifications do we get from, like, I turn most of my app notifications off because I don't need them.
Right.
But if you don't go manage those distractions, you're going to be distracted all the time. The phones will go off constantly if you let them.
Yep. And a lot of people don't know how to turn the notifications off. And it's not hard to do. And it really does make a difference. Because if you're not getting pinged constantly, you're focused on whatever it is you're doing. And just having that focus is gonna bring you back more time in your
Right.
day.
Right. So, and every phone's different. So if you haven't figured out how to manage your notifications and your phone is constantly dinging at you, do a little bit of help searching on your phone and figure it out. Not that sounded almost rude. Figure it out.
But you could ask Chat GPT or like Google it. It's not difficult.
Yeah, it's
Like
like
you
I
just
have a this. How
yeah,
do I do it?
right.
And how do I let special notifications through? It's because
Yeah.
they are. You can filter them.
Yeah. I would also say, in terms of saying no, I would also say yes to people you feel good around, whether that's in your home life, your friendships, your work life, but try and engage more with people that you feel positive around and, inspired by or just laughter and having a good time. And I think weeding out the people that, do the opposite for you is going to help you come to more balance in your life.
When you talked about those friends, and it's like it's not the smile, and it's just the camaraderie. It's just knowing that there is that person out there that you could be in any mood with, and they're going to love you, kind of like a dog does. It's like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how you act, I like you anyway. And those friends in your life that honor your ups and downs and the person you are and the person who makes you feel not guarded when you're with them.
Hmm.
Like you don't have to filter all your words or you don't have to change the way you act. Those are the people that just bring that. When you use the word joy, it almost makes it sound like it's happy go lucky. But that peace, that calm, that contentment. And how do we be that? I mean, I want to be that to myself. I want to figure out how in any situation I can go, I'm safe and I don't have to be a bitch. So there's so many things that we can do.
Hmm.
Do you want to share a little bit about you and what you do and how to get a hold of you and all that fun stuff?
Yes. So I am a integrative health practitioner and holistic health coach. I also am certified as a longevity coach now too, which is a newer certification. And I work with people, mostly women and teens, to try and create this life that you want to live and working on all different goals, whether it's health and wellness goals or, just goals to create a more balanced life in mind, body, spirit. And so my practice is called Zenful Life Coaching. It's ZenfulLifeCoaching. My name is Marnie Dachis Marmet. I also have a podcast that I co host. It's called the Art of Living Well podcast. We bring a lot of guests on, and me and my co host talk as well. We do solo episodes where it's really all about finding your art of living well, and that's different for everybody. I have a promotional products business called Jelly Bean Promotions, and I also wrote a book. It's a memoir, and it's called My Song Unleashed, and that is on audio. It's on Kindle. It's in paperback, and you can just Google my name or the name of the book and find it all over the place.
Mm.
So
And
that's in a
all those,
nutshell.
and all those links are in the show notes, so we can jump down there too if you weren't able to write it all down quick. So we talked about so many fun things that we could do this week. What is the one thing that I could add to my plate today that you think is going to do the best at bringing back that balance to my life?
I think taking 5 minutes to think about what you want your day to look like. And it doesn't have to be, every day, but like a day that you think would be a nice day that you could do over and over again in your day-to-day life and write it down. And then come back to it maybe in a couple days and tweak it a little bit and just maybe this isn't just the one thing for the day, but for the week, kind of tweak it a little bit each day until you get it to a point where you're like, yeah, this really sounds awesome. Like I want to get my day towards this.
So this would be a morning reflection on what I'm going to create in my life today. But this isn't the task list. This is
And
the
it doesn't need to be in the morning. Like, it can be the 5 minutes you have whenever. Like, you can do this any time of day. I don't think it needs to be in the morning.
okay. So just whenever we have 5 minutes, think about what we want our lives to be like
Mhm.
and figure out that one thing that we could change or experiment with. We don't have to change it yet. We can see if it works and then change it.
And I would say you get bonus points if you take a walk and think about this with no distractions. Like, if you go outside, even walk around your block, think about it, and then come back and write some things down.
Ooh, that's getting the clear head on top of it. That is
Yeah.
so smart. Okay, so we're going to take a walk and reflect on the things that we want our daily lives to look like. I love it. Best way to create balance is to know what
Yep.
you're juggling and what it takes to keep it there. And then you get to choose. And so those 5 minutes is analyze what's on my balance, what's on my board that I'm holding. What is it? Could I just shift it a little bit? Would that make more balance in my life? And then let it go. I love it. Thank you so much for joining us today, friend.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's been great. So, friend Marnie and I are not medical or mental licensed professionals. We're here for entertainment. People that have found ways to smooth out our path and are here to help you if you want some assistance helping smooth your path. Stay tuned for the next episode.
Are you tired of waking up exhausted? You are not alone. If you're looking to take your life back, let's start with the simple step of adjusting your self-talk. Stay tuned for the next episode with your host, Lara Jane. Remember to follow the show so you don't miss the next simple step that you can use to feel more confident. And please leave an honest review.